Alrighty, good night everybody. Today is August 9th, 2017. Tonight's webinar is entitled Make Trading Great Again. So I got a little slideshow. Let's get this on the road. Slide number 1. Your job is to extract money from the market. That's your job. Your only goal at the end of the day is to grow your account and your mind. Your job is not to predict directions. Your job is to assess chart patterns that produces profitable outcomes. Your job is to protect your capital at all costs. So at the end of the day, your job, your only job as a trader, is to extract money from the market. It is not to call the tops, it's not to call the bottoms, it's not to say, well, it's not for bragging rights. You don't win a prize for being the first guy in a trade, or picking it at the top, or picking the bottom or whatever. You don't win a prize for that. Your only job as a trader is to extract money from the market. Is to take a trade, get a setup with that most likely produces a profitable outcome, and extract money from the market. So that's your job at the end of the day. And be realistic. Understanding your capabilities. Don't try to be someone you're not. Compare yourself to yourself, not others. Don't be ashamed to take small gains. Don't be ashamed to admit you cannot trade that chart, and don't think you can make money on every single trade. Understand your capabilities. What I mean by that is you have to understand what you can do as a trader. And I'm not talking about your skill set, your skill capabilities. I'm not talking about that. I'm also talking about what can your account actually handle. Some people just wanna, they wanna look at somebody else's account or somebody else's P&L, which is usually the only thing that traders look at, is somebody else's P&L. Not the strategy, not the formation of the trade, not the way that they structured it, not the way that they got in, where they had the stops, where they took profit, where they moved stops to, where they added. Not all of the stuff that actually makes sense. They're only concerned with one thing at the end, just the P&L. And so a lot of new traders come in and they go, oh, well, I just want to see P&L after P&L after P&L. And that's all they want to see. And that's part of the misconception sometimes, where if all you're looking for, say you're on Twitter looking for somebody to follow, right, to find yourself a mentor or a guide or somebody that you feel is a good trader, and all this person keeps doing is putting up P&L, but never explaining or willing to share a setup, or hey, what was I looking for, or what was I doing, or explaining anything about it. At the end of the day, it's just being you trying to chase that person's P&L goals. And so with you trying to do that, it's not realistic. Not realistic at all. Your account, your capabilities, your buying power, your everything, it differs from that person. That person may have years and years of experience, and you don't have that much years of experience. You don't understand as much stuff. So you have to understand your full capabilities as a trader. Don't try to be somebody that you're not. Don't try to be somebody else. Don't try to pretend to be somebody else. You don't want to say, you want to be yourself always. If you're a naturally a calm person or an excited person, be that person while you trade, and try to be yourself. Don't try to be somebody else. Don't try to follow somebody else's stuff, like, step for step. What you want to do is, as compared to having a mentor, or somebody that you look up to, somebody that you can ask questions. I'm not saying not to have a mentor. I think having a mentor is a great thing. I think that you need to have somebody that kind of shines the light for you as you take your path, and then you still have to walk your own path, right? So you still have to be better than you were yesterday, not better than the other guy, not better than the other traders out there. You just have to be better than the person that you were yesterday. So in being realistic, you need to understand what's your capabilities. What can I do? What can my account actually do? Can you take 1,000 shares of Tesla? I mean, is it a realistic thing that you're trying to do? And so if you have a smaller account and you're trying to get that account up, you have to understand what's that risk that you're putting that small account through, what's the stress that you put in that small account through, because you cannot compare somebody's $5,000 a day, and try to make that kind of money without having the account that can handle it. So you got to be realistic about stuff, and you have to understand that if you have a smaller account, you have to trade smaller. It has to be a realistic thing that you're trying to set for yourself. Because if it's not realistic, it will get realistic very soon. It'll get so realistic where you'll see that you don't have an account anymore, and that's when reality strikes for a lot of traders out there. A lot of people that blow up their account. I've blown up accounts. A lot of people that only finds or feels the reality of trading is when it's finished, when it's done, when you don't have any money left. That's when the reality really strikes. And so you don't want to get to that end of the reality spectrum. You want to kind of stay on the real side of it, the money side of it, right? The productive side of it. So make sure that you're taking those small gains. Make sure that you're assessing the trades properly, and you're saying that, hey, look, I can't take 10 shares of Tesla here for 2 points. It really isn't going to make sense for me. Even though I may have a 2-point trade, it isn't going to work out for me. It's just not financially, appropriate to be taking this trade. By the time you take our commissions off of that, yeah, you may have a 2-point trade there, but it's not really going to be profitable at all. So you have to be realistic about what you can trade. Now, I don't like when people say that they have a small account and the only thing that they can trade is low float charts. I don't like when people say that, because I don't think that really applies. I think that there are a lot of mid-range charts that have very nice moves, and they should be considered as trading vehicles, especially like even right now you have a couple small charts in ranges like VRX at that $15 range. You have HTZ in that $17 range. You even have volatility stuff. You have 3 time ETF like TVIX in the $17 range. You have gold ETF in the $17 range. And so there's a whole bunch of small charts that I feel like you can trade them. If you can't trade stuff like Tesla and Netflix and Facebook, there are still a lot of things that you can trade. So you have to understand to be realistic. Don't be ashamed to take small gains, because that's the way that you're going to grow your account. You're not, unless you luck out with a trade and you get into something, you wake up the next day and they have a buyout or they got some FDA approval or something. Unless that luck strikes you, you really have to understand that the reality of it is that you should be taking smaller gains in order to build your account up to what you really want it to be. So don't be ashamed to take your small gains, and don't be ashamed to admit that, hey, I can't trade that chart. It's just not in my criteria. It's out of my price bracket. You want to make sure that you are aligning yourself with the charts that you can actually trade. And don't think. You have to be realistic about this. Don't think that every trade setup, it could be a 5-star trade setup. It can meet all of your criteria. If you're using the strategy or a simple strategy like I am, it can be an 813 crossover. It can have, a bull flag to the upside. It can have volume coming in. It can have every single criteria that's matched, and you have to take the chart, and it still fails on you. And so, well, you have that sort of stuff that always happens. So you have to be realistic. You have to understand that not every single chart, not every single trade is going to be a profitable one. So when you're being realistic about what you can make out of the chart, you also have to be realistic as to what you can lose on the chart. Understanding your individual trading style. Your trading style reflects your individual personality. Don't try to be aggressive if you're not an aggressive person. Don't try to be patient and slow-paced if you're not naturally that. It's easier to be yourself while trading than be someone that you're not. Okay, so this ties into some of the stuff that I was talking about before, about not trying to follow people that as far as with mentors, or having somebody that you look up to. I think it's great to have somebody that you look up to. I think you should be following somebody that, especially if you're starting off, right? You want to follow somebody that's better, right? If you're in school and you're having issues with your math homework, right? Don't you look for somebody that can help you along with that? Same thing like in trading. If there's somebody that's stronger and somebody that's willing to share something with you, then reach out to that person and try to get some help from, from their perspective, or see something from their angle, because you know what, it makes total sense for you to try to see things the way that, I can't say the way that they should be seen, because you know what, every trade outcome is obviously different, and I don't think any trader has a perfect setup that always works. And so I don't think that any trade setup that anybody can show you is going to be a profitable one, but at least they may have some different thoughts or ideas about it that may shine some light on your situation. I mean, if you're looking at what chart was that, the one that went up all the way to the trip, TRIP, right? So there were people short in trip, right? Obviously, if you look at the chart now, you'll say, well, wow, that was a nice long. And yes, it was. But you could have been caught short in the chart, right? And so I even tried to bounce AAOI today. And if I look at the chart now, it's like, hey, where did you see that that chart was even bounceable, right? That's not a word. Where did you see that that you can even try to play that chart on the long side? And so it really didn't make any sense at all. But somebody else could see things that way, and so having somebody that could relay some of that stuff to you, or maybe show you something that you didn't see, it's a great thing. So, but you have to understand the individual style. Okay, I'm a pretty calm person, pretty mellow person. I'm aggressive when I come to trading though, which is kind of different sometimes, I guess. I'm very aggressive when I come to trading, when it comes to trading or taking charts, when the setups come my ways, because I'm quick to think, hey, there's a long or there's a short. And so for me, it's a yes no thing. It's a quick decision. It's not a maybe. It's not a hey, I'll sit around. If it's a sit around type thing, I'll not take it. But if it's a yes no trade, if I see something that I want, I'll take it. I'll pay for it. I'll hit the ask. I'll buy the chart if I want to take it on the long side. So I'm aggressive when it comes to that, but I'm very relaxed when it comes to me, as far as I'm aggressive to get into the trade, but I'm very calm and slow paced to get out of the trade. And so my personality is very kind of calm and relaxed. And so it really kind of it's shown in my exits throughout my trades, not so much my entry. Because in my entry, if I like something, I'm in it. Period. And it doesn't matter if I'm starting off with a big size or small size or whatever, but if I like something, I'll take it. And so I am aggressive when it comes to entries, but I'm very patient when it comes to exits. And you have to understand what that is to you. If you're an aggressive person, maybe you want to be doing, if you're an aggressive person on both end of the trades, right? Like I'm aggressive at the entry and slower pace at the exit. But if you're aggressive at the entry and you want to be aggressive on the exits, then you have to understand that, hey, that's my trading style. That's who I'm going to be. I'm not going to be your 200 SMA swing trader. I'm not going to be that person that gives a crap about that stuff. I'm going to be the person that's going to be trading the smaller time frame. I'm going to see a trade. I'm going to take a trade. I'm going to put a size in. No fishing size. No playing around. I'm going to be in and I'm going to be out. And if you can understand that that's the person that you are, because of your personality, because of the way that you want to trade, if that's the kind of trades that you want to be taken, then own up to it. Take it. Make it your own. Be the best at that you can be. If you're a slower trader, if you want to trade stuff that's that's a lot slower pace. If you feel like taking a chart and kind of watching it all day is something that you want to do, you want to be relaxed, you want to set stops, you want to be able to go take your dog for a walk and come back and not have to worry about volatility spiking or dropping your charts, If that's the kind of trades that you want to have, then understand that that's maybe your personality. That may be who you are. But your personality, I guess what this slide's trying to say is that your personality is a big attachment to the way that you trade. And so make sure that you understand who you are as you're trading. Don't say that, hey, I'm a calm person, I don't like to take a lot of risk, but I want to be an aggressive trader. I want to jump in at 9:31. I want to be doing this, doing that, doing that. That's not you. And so your personality doesn't reflect it, and then your trades are not going to reflect it either, because you're going to be doing something that really isn't something that's normal to you. And so you want to make sure that these things are as normal to you as they can be. And so be relaxed if you're relaxed. Be aggressive if you're aggressive. Do what you need to do to make your trading style part of your personality. It has to all kind of mesh together. For me, I feel like I've done a good job at doing that over the time. And as I said before, I'm super, super, super aggressive. When I want to get into something, I'm in it. I got to take that trade. I'm going to take that trade. I took FGN on the short side today, and I started with 1,200 shares on that on the short side. I was aggressive on the short because I felt like I understood what the chart wanted to do, and so I'm very aggressive on the short side. And then it turns out that I wait all the way to the end of the day to get out of the trade. But as entry wise, I'm aggressive. I see what I want and I take it. And for the exit part of it, I'll take a break, I'll put stops in, I'll relax, I'll breathe. But for the entry part of it, I'm very, very aggressive. And so you have to understand how that works and how that fits into your own personality also. And so don't try to be somebody that you're not. Don't try to be that fast-paced person if that's not who you are. If you're slower paced, there are slower paced charts that you can play. If you don't care for those pig trades that pop all the way up 30, 40 cents and then drop 60 cents, if that's not for you, that's not for you. I actually don't like playing stuff like that. Even if I was to take a low float trade, I actually kind of like to look for the low float trades on the daily chart that's actually curling or moving to the upside or whatever. I'll take a low float trade based on a daily chart more than I'll take a low float trade on the intraday move, if that makes any sense to you. Because what I'm seeing is I would like a slower paced chart for especially with those kind of charts. I'd like to be in before the move happens, because I feel like if something was to move right now, I don't want it. I might take it, right? But there's a big might, because I'm not a scalp trader. I don't care for the 10-cent moves. And so I can do that all day. I can get 10-cent moves all day, but I don't trade like that. It's just not part of me. And so I don't tend to look for those kind of a quick type moves. And so it's my personality though. Even though I'm aggressive on entries, I just don't like to be aggressive on those types of charts. I can't see myself constantly doing 5,000, 10,000 shares for a 10-cent move. It's just not my thing. And so for me, I feel like the risk on that outweighs the reward. Even though the reward can be huge, don't get me wrong, I feel like the risk outweighs it. And so that part of me, that part of my mind just does not click for trades like that. So I understand my personality, and I try to really present that through my trading. And so you have to do that also as a trader. Understand who you are and understand how your trades should be reflected. Take some time to educate yourself. I'm not talking about taking $10,000 courses or signing up with expensive chat rooms. I'm not talking about any of that. It's not a sales pitch at all. Educating yourself does not have to do anything with money. There's a lot of free education. You're attending one right now. How about that? There's a lot of free stuff out there. YouTube, books, Twitter, lots and lots and lots of free documentation out there, videos, and just so many things out there that you can educate yourself with about trading. Now the thing is that I find that if you go about trying to find every single best strategy out there, you're going to end up just confusing yourself. I think any strategy can be a winning strategy. I went over this last week, last webinar rather, and I think any strategy can be a winning strategy. It really depends on how you approach that, right? But I think that being that you're looking for an education, education doesn't have to mean school. Education could just mean to get more information about something that you want, right? And so if you really are dedicated to doing this, I think you should be spending a lot of your time researching stuff, looking at stuff. You can educate yourself with your own platform at home. How did I educate myself with my own platform when I started trading? I never read a trading book. I didn't know that there were trading videos out there. I didn't know that there were names for any of these things that I used. I didn't know any of that stuff. I really self-educated myself at the beginning. And for me, I feel like that was one of the best steps that I ever took. Looking back at it now, I'm so happy that I didn't get trained by anybody, because I feel like I would have been kind of in their mindset or their thoughts. So maybe they were a bull and I'd be, a perma bull, or maybe they were bear and I'd be all bearish all the time. So I never really had that issue because I never learned from anybody. I really did learn a lot from myself. My first ever trading discovery was the 200 SMA. And I may have told this story a million times, but it still excites me. It's like waking my wife up at 3 a.m. in the morning to show her this blue line on my computer that makes charts go up and down. And it was just like it was like a light bulb went off in my head, but that was part of me educating myself with my own platform without anybody else influencing anything. So take time to educate yourself, okay? Your goals are just dreams if they're not applied. Your goals are only just dreams, just big clouds fluffing around, houses, cars, a better life for you and your kids, vacations, a better computer system, a nice chair to sit on while you trade. I mean, your goals can be anything, right? Anything. A proper meal at the end of the day, right? Send your kids to a proper school. These are goals. See, a lot of people, when they think about goals, all they're thinking about is stacks of money. And for me, that bothers me a lot because I just don't think about goals like that. I don't think about goals as stacks of money or mansions, right? I just don't see it like that. And I think a lot of people, when you say your goals and your dreams, oh, everybody's just got a picture in their head already. Mansion, Ferrari in the front, little fountain shooting water, and so that's people's idea of or their perception of what it should be. That's your goal. That's your final dream. But it shouldn't be that. Your goal can just be a simpler life, a consistent life, and that's the dream that you should be shooting for. Has nothing to do with the big fancy stuff. It just has to do with what you actually want. So your goals aren't gonna be dreams. They're always just going to be dreams. They're gonna be fantasies. They're gonna be things that you think about until you apply your education to it, and then you can change that around. Then you can make those dreams and fantasies come alive, and you can have yourself being a successful trader. But in order to do that, you got to educate yourself. You got to meet your goals halfway by preparing yourself. You got to say, well, okay, here this is point A and point B, and there's that entire gap in between. So you're A, that's you. B is your goal, but there's no way to connect those two. The education's going to connect you though. And that's what you need to do. So you need to educate yourself. Get yourself from point A to point B. That's going to be your bridge that crosses you. And yeah, there's a lot of people here, bud. And so there's going to be that A to B, and that's where you need to be. You need to be connecting yourself from one bridge to the other, because your goals are always going to be far from you. Always going to be far from you. How do you bridge that though? The education is going to bridge you. And that's what you need to do, right? So simple education can curb the learning curve. I think that just getting yourself a little bit knowledgeable about some of the basic stuff, a lot of stuff that I do here, but a simple education can help you to curb that learning curve quite a bit. Now, for me personally, and I really don't do what I do for financial gains. Like it's not my way of living. I trade for a living. But I feel like the reason why I am so very much, I do webinars like every other week, right? I answer anybody's questions. I do charts. I do free, this and that and whatnot. But for me, I feel like being able to help somebody else to not go through the crap that I went through, and seeing people that come out of dark little holes and seeing them progressing, it's an amazing thing. And for me, I just do this honestly. I mean, you're sitting here, it didn't cost you anything other than to sign on or click that link and you're joining. But I do all this stuff not because I like to just spend 2 hours of my life on a Wednesday, but I do it because I think that there are a lot of people that continuously, they make mistakes, and there are easier ways to get around learning trade or trade in the proper way. And so for me, I feel like I want to be people's bridge if they'll allow me to, obviously. And I would, I like to be able to help other people because I went through a lot of stuff when I started, and I understand the pain. I understand blowing up accounts. I understand, having problems at home based on, hey, you don't, you've lost money, or this trade didn't work, or that's not working, or what are you gonna do, or hitting that wall constantly, or plateauing even. I've gone through all of that stuff, and for me, I love to be able to say, hey, let me help you cross that bridge quicker because that's a freaking scary ass bridge to be on for the rest of your life. You can be on that little shaky bridge for the rest of your trading career, or you can just have somebody that kind of tries to help guide you through or over that process. And so that's what I try to do. So you find a mentor that you can trust, and it doesn't have to be somebody that's me or any. It could be anybody. It could be anybody else that trades. If you have one friend on Twitter that I mean, because most of us come, obviously most of us connect on Twitter, right? So if you have one friend over there that's a trader, I mean, connect. Say, hey, what did you trade? How'd you trade it? Here's what I did. What do you think I should have done differently? Maybe this is what you should have done differently. You see, people take criticism sometimes as oh, you're looking down on me, or you think you're better than me, or whatever. But I think constructive criticism can be so helpful if two friends were just to say, hey, can you send me a list of what you traded today? I'm going to send you a list of what I traded today. Let's see if we can formulate something. Let's see if we traded the exact same thing on different angles. Let's try to figure out something. And so I think that could be your mentor. A mentor doesn't have to be a professional trader, doesn't have to be an expensive anything. It can just be somebody else that does the same thing that you do, right? Birds of a feather flock together. And so if you can just find somebody that does the same thing that you do, and you can share ideas, there can be a lot of help from that. Um, I do. I do. In my room I do. Sometimes in public. Align yourself with traders that can help you grow. I think I just went over that. Grow and not discourage when you down. So that's exactly what I was talking about just now, about finding somebody that you can just say hi to. How many times do you have traders or friends? Right, I have a whole support group for that for ITA, and that was the reason why that was built. So we have an app that all the members of our room are in there, well, whoever wants to be, and they just share ideas. Hey, I traded this. Hey, I traded like crap. Hey, I traded great. I did this. I did that. I'm learning this. I'm failing at that. And it's just a whole group of people. I'll sign in there sometimes. There'll be hundreds of messages that I have to go through from everybody that's talking, but I try to go through every single one though. But it's just a group of people talking about their day or their trades or their swing ideas or what they're feeling or how's the market doing, and it's a great environment to be in just to align yourself with people that do the same thing day in and day out, because really you cannot really go out and talk to your neighbor about day trading. You know, hey, how you doing? Well, I went to work today. What'd you do? Well, I shorted Tesla. What are you talking about Tesla and what's shorting? You know, I mean, like, so you can't have a proper conversation with your neighbor about shorting Tesla, right? But if you have a support group that helps you along, just says, hey, I shorted Tesla. Hey, I shorted Tesla too. And you know, and you compare stuff, and you kind of stick together with ideas, it can be a big help for you. Okay, so try to align yourself with somebody that can help you. Next slide. Keep an open mind. One of the big important things for me here, I think this is something that for me really strikes home. And each one of these slides for me is from my own personal thing. I don't find these things somewhere. I make these things up, right? These webinars, I write these things. A lot of them come from my heart. And so some of them, sometimes the grammar may not be perfect, but I try my best. But keep an open mind. Closed minds will not allow for growth. You can't polish a turd. Yeah, that one I just had to put in there. Be willing to deflect from current trading styles if they're not performing. If it isn't going the direction you wanted it to, it's time to change. Markets change, and so should you, so you should be adaptable. Refine your strategies always. So start from the top. Keep an open mind. Open mind being what? Open mind just being that you're gonna say, hey, yes, that earnings missed, but the chart is going up, so let me trade it long. It is being recorded. So let me trade it long. You know? And that's all. That's all I'm asking. Open mind. Okay, I hate gold, so you can't long gold ever. Gold can spike and we can have a war, but you hate gold so much that you won't long it. Just keep an open mind, that's all I'm saying. Some of these charts, some of these trades will do a complete opposite from what you wanted it to do. Horrible earnings, but yet the chart's ripping. Great earnings, but you can't find a bottom to take it on the long side. Keep an open mind. If the chart's giving you direction, play the direction. And stop trying to confine your trades to do what you want them to do, because you can't hold them down. You can't force them to do something. You can't say, okay, Facebook had great earnings the other day and the entire day was a nice slow bleed to the downside. That's the way I traded it. Now, it's supposed to be a long, yeah, but it was a short, and it continued being a short, and there were continuously people trying to play it on the long side throughout the day because it was fine, the numbers were good, it should have been up, period, but it was not. And so the part of you that understands the fundamental is going to say, well, get the hell out of here, I gotta keep buying, I gotta go long. And then the part of you that understands what the chart is actually doing just keeps shorting and shorting and shorting and shorting. And you can see how keeping an open mind there allows you to see what's really going on as opposed to what you want to happen. Because there's no way, unless you can control these charts, you're looking at the same chart I'm looking at, right? You're trading the exact same chart that I'm trading. No matter where you are, and what part of the world you're trading, what platform you're using, you're looking at Facebook, I'm looking at Facebook, okay? It's the same exact chart. And if we're looking at it at the same exact time, it's the same exact candle that we're looking at. So we have to be able to defer, because there's somebody that's long and somebody that's short. Somebody that's thinking it's going higher and somebody that's thinking it's going lower. The person that's gonna win, obviously, is gonna be the direction that it goes. But how come that the same exact candle, the same exact print, you can have two different ideas? It's because one person seeing it from a completely different view. There's always somebody, once you hit that buy or sell button, there's somebody on the other end that's receiving those shares, either long or short. And so there's always a transfer of shares from one person to the other, right? So buying and selling is just you sharing your shares with somebody else. And so one person's always going to win. Now the person that's keeping their mind open the most is going to win. Always. Always. The person that's fighting the trend, trying to buck the trend. trying to bounce the charts, usually end up being the person that loses the most money. If you look at most of your trades, you lost most of your money at the tops of charts when you were trying to short them, at the bottom of the charts when you were trying to bounce them. And so those are the two key points that people lose their most of their money. If people were to focus on the middle of the charts a lot more, they can make a lot more money from in that gray area rather than only trying to short the top and long the bottom. But you got to keep an open mind. You got to allow stuff to work the way, of course. You gotta be able to understand that you cannot uh, develop anything further if all you're seeing is it's too high, I'm gonna short it, or it's too low, I'm gonna long it. FGN, when I shorted that thing today, and I went in with size, and so people were thinking. I even had one person that asked, "Hey, how come you didn't think about longing it there?" And I just said, "Hey, let's just keep it open. We know what that looks like. That looks like a freaking bear flag, right?" So keeping our mind open, understanding that hey, it's a downtrend. It remains a downtrend till it changes. And so keeping our mind open, we were able to short it. He went in and matched my shares, matched my entry, and we both made money on that trade. And so he kept his mind open enough to allow me to help him out with that trade. Something where maybe he was thinking, hey, let's just take it on the long, or let's not even trade that because it didn't seem like it didn't have money in there. But it was worth quite a bit. So keep an open mind. You cannot polish a turd. And I don't mean this in a bad way. I just felt like it's just I like to write stupid things sometimes. You can't have a strategy that isn't working for you, a game plan that isn't working for you. If every day you get up and you, I don't know, you sit at your desk and in your PJs and you drink coffee and your hair is all messed up, and I don't know, if you're just in the same rut all the time and it isn't working for you, do something different. Do something different. And it applies to the same thing like when your trades, your exact trades. If you feel like every trade you take is going against you, it's obviously not working. You're obviously not doing something right. If you were doing something right, it wouldn't be going against you all the time. If it's going against you all the time, there's got to be something that you're not seeing, something that's not clicking. I have trades that go against me. I do. But I'm more green than I'm red, right? And so that's the difference. So I do have trades that go against me. I have trades that go against me all the time, but I don't have trades that go against me one after the other, after the other, after the other for days and weeks and months. I don't have that anymore. And so if I have trades that go against me during the day, I'll cut my trade and I'll start back fresh. Or if I have a couple of trades that don't work for me, if I have a couple of weeks or a couple of days that I feel like I'm hitting a wall where I'm standing still for a while, I'll just kind of sit back and regroup and try to focus a little bit. But I really I don't have the type of days that I used to have where it's like a day like, hey, how much did you lose today? Okay. How much did you lose today? How much did you lose today? I mean, if you keep on hearing that from your spouse at the end of the day, every single day when you see them at the end of the day, if that's a question, if that's a conversation that's coming up and it's a funny thing in the house, then obviously you are where I used to be. And so let's try to get out of there because it ended up being a funny joke in our house. Like, hey, how much did you lose today? And so it was never a thing of how much did you make. It was always about how much did you lose, because it was always a losing thing. Every single trade was going against me, so you cannot. I threw that crap away. I got rid of that. I tried to step out of that mentality and change it completely and do something completely different, because you cannot polish a turd. It just won't shine. And so you got to be able to change completely. Take it away. Do something else. If it isn't going the direction that you wanted it to go, and I'm not talking about your individual trades, I'm talking about your direction as a trader. If it's not going the way that you want it to go, you have to be able to say, hey, stop right there, get rid of these positions. These swings are not working. These pigs that you're holding for months isn't the way to go. This isn't the direction that you want to go. Cut it. Be done with it. Start off fresh. It can bleed you. You can hold them for 6 months to a year to 2 years, and one day it'll spike, and then you'll feel lucky that, hey, it's going to continue, and you're going to end up holding it, and it'll come right back down. If it isn't going in the direction that you want, there's a point where you have to say, that's it. I'm done with that. There's something that's got to change. Because if it doesn't change, if you're listening to me, if it doesn't change, you will go broke doing this. Your account will go to zero if you keep doing it. So if it's not going the way that you want it to go, you gotta turn it around somehow. Alright? Markets are changing. Everybody knows that, right? A lot more algos out there. A lot of high frequency trading out there. So the markets are changing. You should too. Always be changing. Always be adapting. Always be studying. Always be refining your strategy. Even up to today, I'm looking at different things to do with my strategy. And it's not that I'm changing anything about the actual moving averages themselves, but just the way that, where I want to take them, what kind of charts do I want to take them, what kind of environment am I looking to take them, and I'm always looking for something else to give me a slighter, a better edge on the strategy. So the strategy still remains the same. It's not going to change. I don't think I'll ever change it because it works. So why change it? So it's working. So I'm not going to change it. I wish I could be more robotic with it because honestly, I don't think I'm robotic enough with it. And I'm going to be trying to work on that myself. I think like I have to refine that about myself. But always be refining your strategy. Always be trying to do something different. Something that's gonna eventually put you in a better place. Next slide. Give yourself choices. Not every single setup has to be traded. Not every single news alert or volume spike or a Twitter alert or whatever has to be traded. Understand how much you can actually handle. Filter out the better setups and trade those with conviction. You can always choose to reject a setup for not meeting your criteria. Obviously, I think we've discussed a lot of these, but not trading every single setup is a good thing to understand. Not because, hey, there's an 813, do I say, hey, I'm going to trade it. If it's just not in the right environment, if it's just not related to the, if it's not related to what you want to do. Say for example, you're looking at gold, right? And gold's going to the upside, but you want to short miners, or you want to long miners. You have to understand the correlation there, right? So even though you may have a setup that may seem like, okay, this individual setup should work, but the commodity isn't really related to that right now, and if that commodity is doing something opposite from what you want to do, then maybe you don't want to take that trade at the time. So not every single setup has to be traded, because you have to understand that you're not going to be long in Tesla if the market's down, right? So there's certain things that even if you see a setup, you won't do it. And so, you have to be able to understand the choices that you have. You have a yes/no choice. You don't click that position, doesn't enter into your position box until you actually click that mouse. That click of the mouse is a choice. You've made a choice, a dedication to trade that chart in a certain way. So when you make that dedication, that commitment to doing that, make sure that it's the right one. I'm not saying the right one as far as you making money. I'm saying the right one as far as you scratching out all the bads that you can scratch out before you take the trade. You see, when you jump into a trade because somebody else is doing it, then you've made no decision of your own. You have not made a choice. The only choice that you've made is a choice to follow somebody else. Not a choice to trade, but in fact a choice to follow. And so you're not a trader, you're just a follower. And so you can't do that for the rest of your career. Eventually, don't you want to be a trader though? Don't you want to be able to say, well, hey, I traded this today because of that, and I'm proud of myself, and tomorrow if that setup shows up, I can make money to provide for my family. And so now you're a trader. But if that person that only follows, if that person that only sits there and waits for an alert, if that person on the other end doesn't give an alert that day, that person can't trade. So what I try to do is educate people. I try to help people to say, hey, this is how to do it, This is how to do it. And let's do it together. More and more and more together, because I trade a lot. I traded 8 or 9 things today. I trade a lot every single day, and I lead by example, being that, yeah, I'll take a loss, alright, but we'll have fantastic days too. And so we've had more better days than bad days, and it's only gonna get better as we all get better, as we all grow together as a team. So, we'll only get better as we grow together. Cause now look, say I'm helping somebody else, and that person's helping somebody else, and we helping all together. Now, what happens when you have an entire unit of people that's all strong, that's all trading on the same level? What happens then? Imagine every single person's finding criteria setups that are 5-star setups. Now that's where you're gonna have a pyramid, right, built properly from the bottom up. That's where you're gonna have people that you can depend on. If Noel says, "Hey, I'm long VRX," I can click my mouse on VRX and hit buy because I know that his setup is going to be clean. He won't long it if it's not matching the criteria that we've defined. And so his definition or criteria are met, and that's going to meet my criteria. So eventually when everybody's on the same level, that's where you want to be. You want to be able to trust that person that's next to you, right? But you can't keep following people to learn that, ever. You will never learn how to do it if you don't do it. See, taking a little flash course with somebody, see, that crap really doesn't teach you anything. I may show you some cool stuff, because I can show you a lot of cool stuff, right? I can show you hindsight charts up the wazoo that'll show you how the 813 can prove to be the best strategy in the world. I can show you thousands of 813 strategies that have been productive. I can show you thousands of charts that are hindsight. I tell this to people all the time. You want me to show you bullshit? I can show you bullshit, but that's not what I'm here for. Cause I don't get anything out of this other than just trying to help people. Really. I can show you thousands of charts that can prove to you how great that 813 is. And at the end of the day, we still can't use it because there's no education behind it. You don't know what to do with it, right? You know that a Ferrari is a fast car, but you don't know how to drive it, so it really could just park up in your driveway and look pretty, but you just can't do anything with it. And so you really have to be able to learn how to do these things. So when you see a conviction setup, when you see something that you can say, yes, that's the setup. And I bring up setups like that all the time. I say, hey, this is a good one. This is way better than that one. And so this one has better chances of doing what you want it to do. Like, so the same price range charts, like these are both $20 charts, but this one has better setup potential than that one. And so we'll do that all the time because there's so many chart setups that goes along during the day. I mean, for the day on average, I think I probably go through about 25 setups during the day, on any day. And that's too much for anybody to trade anyways. If you had to trade every single one of those, it's too much. So you have to define the better ones, and you try to filter those out and try to pick the ones that you want. And so you have choices. You always have choices. You always will have choice. When you get up in the morning, you have a choice to wake up out of your bed and put your computers on. Okay, when 6 a.m. when my alarm comes on, I have a choice to hit that snooze button or hit the stop button and get up. So I hit the stop button and I get up. Right, but I have a choice. I can sleep in. I can hit that snooze button a few times and I can go back to bed. There's always a choice that you're going to have. And so you need to understand that you have a lot of choices out there. This webinar is going to take a little longer than expected. Next slide. Accept the consequences. I mean, that's pretty much self-explanatory, guys. You got to understand that your choices results in either a win or a loss. We go back to the first slide and you'll see that. It's either a win or a loss. What's your job? Your job is to extract money. That's it. Alright, your job is to transfer some money from somebody else to your account. That's what you're doing. Not illegally. Legally. Alright? But your job is to basically take money from the big pool of money. That's called a stock market. Alright? And so you have to understand that the choices results in either a win or a loss. When you have a profitable trade, you need to celebrate it. And I'm not talking about bragging. I am not talking about bragging. I'm talking about making sure that you understand in your head that this is the way you want it to be done. This is the way that you want to be. This is the kind of setups that you need to look for. Remember, Jeff, when after that FGN short, I told you, go ahead, you celebrate your win. It doesn't have to be bragging. It doesn't have to be, talking about stuff. It has to be you saying, yes, that was a good trade. That's the kind of setups that I want. That's the kind of trader that I want to be, because it's gonna build you up. It's gonna build up. It's gonna build up your mindset. You gotta encourage yourself. You gotta the motivation that you want. A lot of it comes from you, because I can pat you on your back all day long, right? Hey, that was a good trade. Hey, it wasn't that really that good. Hey, that loss wasn't that bad. It was a bad loss. It was a horrible trade, But when you do a good thing, you wanna make sure that you say, hey, that was a nice trade. That helps people so much, and people don't try to understand how much it can help your mentality for somebody to just say thank you, or for somebody to just say, hey, that was nice, or from somebody to just say, well, that's the way that you should do it. That can help a lot of people. Now, I know that it may sound weird, and you may say, well, hey, why do you need to encourage people that much if they did something good? Well, you know what? If they did something bad, you're going to beat them, right? You're going to beat them down verbally or whatever, right? And so if they do something good, what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to encourage that behavior, right? How do you train a child to do better things? You encourage the better behavior, right? And you starve the bad behavior, right? So when you do good stuff as a trader, you want to be encouraged by that. You want to say that, hey, yeah, this is the thing that I want to do more often. When I have a trade that gives me 4 or 5 points, that's what I want to do on a regular basis. When you have a trade that makes you money, that's what I want to do. Show me how I can do this more. And that's the encouragement that you're going to try to do for yourself and from other people and from that group that you've gotten yourself involved with, because being with somebody else that can really understand what you do is a great thing. Don't complain about your losses. Your losses are done. Your losses are done. It's all done with. Your losses are gone. You can't get that money back. How many times have you said, "Oh, I had Tesla at $100"? You can't get it back. You can go back and beg your broker for that shares, but he's not going to give it back to you, right? So your losses are gone, and money that's gone is gone. This is one business where you cannot click that button and say, "Oh crap, can I get that back?" You can't do that. It's not going to happen. So, if you take a loss, it's gone. If it's gone, and stressing about it is not going to make a difference, is it going to help you mentally to do it differently? Now, you have to understand this about taking losses. When you take a loss and the money is gone, okay? When you take a loss and the money is gone, and you can't do anything about it, are you still continuing to trade? And most of the answer would be yes, because you still want to trade. So, the bottom line is bringing yourself down mentally going to help you continue to be a trader? No, it's not. It's going to pull you down even more. It's going to break you down even more. And so, you need to stop complaining about your losses. Hey, you lost $1,000? Yeah, that's fine. Okay, and if I put out a lot of public stuff there, and I put out some of my good trades, and I do put out some of my losses too. I don't complain about it. I just say, hey, that's my loss. That's cost of doing business. Let's move on. But you have to stop complaining about it. Don't dwell on stuff so much, okay? If you train your mind to focus on the winners, and you let the losers take mental residence, you'll see that the winning setups, more. So, oh, and you don't let the losers take mental residence. I thought I forgot the don't. Phew. Alright, so if you train your mind to focus on the winners, and don't let the losers take mental residence. You'll see winning setups more. You'll be able to see more setups if you keep focused on the direction that you want to go. If you keep walking forward, right, not worrying about things that are behind you, you won't have an issue moving forward. But if you're walking forward and you keep looking back, you'll end up falling even though you're moving forward. So you can't move forward and look backward. You can move forward and look forward and stay forward, and you can be able to train your mind to focus on the things that are winning for you. If you're using a strategy like a bull flag setup and it's worked 7 out of 10 times, that's where your focus is. That's your strategy. That's your go-to. So focus and try to train your mind to see those things, so when you look at your screens, it's like a freaking matrix, and that's all that you see is just charts and moving stuff, and it just makes so much more sense to you. So please get to that level. I can't wait. Whenever you're confused, remember what's your purpose, and that's on the first slide. So remember, whenever you get confused about a trade, remember, whenever you feel like, hey, I'm holding this chart and it's not doing anything. Hey, it's late in the day and I haven't made $1. Hey, I gotta do this or I gotta do that. Remember, what's your purpose? Your only purpose is to extract money. Alright? Your only purpose is to extract money, so never forget it. Never forget it. Be consistent. Follow through with your discipline. Build credibility with yourself and your system. Don't stray from what makes you money. Don't allow others to alter your plan. Study your ass off. Mental readiness involves a calm and relaxed trader. Okay, follow through with your discipline. Your discipline as a trader, your discipline as a person, your discipline as a human being. Just follow through with it. You got to be consistent about everything that you're doing, okay? If you're saying that, hey, yeah, this is what I want to do for a living, be consistent about it. Be consistent about it. Get up, do your studies, do your journals. Keep track of your trades. Write stuff down. Keep your desk clean. Just the simple things, but be consistent about it. Okay? I think having a Twitter account is great. And I think that people on there should utilize it a lot more. Not just to retweet stuff and to like stuff, but I think people should utilize it a lot more because it's a great tool. There are a lot of cool people on there that you can follow, and I've gotten so much education from people on Twitter, and you won't believe. There are people that put out great charts. There are people that do webinars. There are people that do really nice inspirational thing to keep you up. There are people that post really quick news on FDA approvals and filings and all this stuff. Sometimes just more stuff than you can get even off your own your news service. Sometimes their news service are way faster. I've seen stuff come across my my Twitter feed faster than it came across my news scan. And so, Twitter's a great resource. You got to be able to utilize that a little bit more, guys. How'd you come here tonight? How'd you find me? That's the only, you obviously got to you got to utilize that a little bit more because it's there, and use it. It's free till they make you start paying for it. Study your ass off. Make sure you do that. You do your journals. I do my journals every Saturday. You got to be able to do your journal. Do stuff that's gonna be productive off hours, after hours, and not when the market's open, and not when you have to say, well, hey, how do I learn to trade WB right now? How do I do this? How do I do this? Well, it's the middle of the day, and the trade's working, and the charts are moving, the market's open, and now you want to learn to do something. Now you want to be able to kind of see a chart. No, you should have been doing that before to prepare yourself for where you're at now. And so you always want to be studying. You always want to be seeing something or learning something or doing something, and take your time to get that done right, because you can do a lot of stuff. You can waste a lot of hours out there, guys. Alright? Don't think that because I'm saying study, it means to just go start watching every single trading video out there. It's a waste of time. Alright? Because you could look at 50 different videos with 50 different people, and they can tell you 50 different things. Find something, make it yours, and make it consistent, because that's the only thing. I can show you any strategy that'll work. Any single strategy that'll work. I can give you 10, 15 strategies right now. But the only thing that's going to make a difference between you making money off of it and the other person making money off of it is how you approach the trades mentally. It's the only thing. But you got to end up being consistent. You got to be calm. You got to be ready to trade. If you feel like it's not the right environment to do it, then don't do it. Okay, you cannot be having a bad day with your family, and I've experienced this myself, how much your mind, if it's not in the game, how much it does hurt you. It does hurt your trading, and I try to eliminate that for myself, and it still bothers you, and it still affects your trading quite a bit. And so you got to be able to be consistent. Always be consistent in everything that you do, not just trades. In everything that you do, try to be as consistent as you can, because it's going to make a big difference in the way that you approach things. You see, if you're a consistent person in your natural habit, then you'll be a consistent person in your personality. Then it'll overflow into your trading. So that goes back to a few slides that we went to, but your personality is reflected in your trading. So if you're a consistent person, it should be reflected. It should trickle down into your trading. And so try to approach this entire thing from a different angle, and you'll be able to see it a little differently. Next slide. Be a role model. Trade to be the trader that you want to become. Aspire for progress and success. Help others as others have helped you. Share ideas and thoughts as they may have small effect on someone else. Don't be jealous of others' achievements. Don't be hateful towards those that dedicate their time to their process. And most importantly, listen. Just listen. There's too many things out there that goes on that people like to criticize instead of just listening. If people listen a little bit more, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so you should listen more and talk less, especially as a newer trader. And I don't care how long you've been trading, because I have not been trading that long, but I have a lot of experience on screen time as anybody else out there. And so I've listened quite a bit. Now it didn't matter if I listened to people, because that's not what I'm talking about. I listen to the charts. I listen to what they're saying. I listen if you're saying, hey, this is not going to work for you, so either you're going to keep it here and lose money, or we're going to get out and look for something else, or flip it and go the opposite way. But you got to listen. You got to listen to the charts, you got to listen to the trades, you got to listen to yourself. You got to understand that you're listening to everything. You listen to your account, your capital, you protect it. You hold it dearly, because if it's not there, you're not trading tomorrow. So you gotta listen to everything. If your account is not going to be able to handle a loss like what you're trying to put on, or a size of trade with the management that your account can handle, you need to listen to your account. You need to understand that, hey, I can't do that. Your account's screaming at you. I can't do that. I can't take a $5,000 loss on this trade, so stop trying to be like that other guy. You need to just listen, because if you don't, you'll end up in a lot of trouble. So most importantly, I think, to be successful is try to listen a little bit, because there's a lot of stuff out there that can help you, and a lot of people that are willing to help you as a trader. And as newer traders, there are always going to be tons and tons of information. I feel like there's more information ever that's out there. Yeah, put $100 desk. That's what I do. That's what I do. I not since I built the new desk, but on my old desk I had a $100 bill taped to my desk. And that was one of my earlier webinars that I had said that I had done that. It just because you understand what the feel of real money is. Sometimes people are up 50, $100 and they don't take it because $100, I'm not trading for $100. But if you hold one in your hand, you'll be like, hey, it's $100. So a lot of people when they trade, they don't understand the real value of the dollar. But anyways, that concludes this night's webinar. And so if there are any questions, you guys can, you're obviously allowed to go ahead and ask some. Thank you guys for coming.